Hello, everybody. Welcome to a scenario review for Dark Side of the Moon. A few days ago, you saw how this one went for us if you watched that on our channel. And if not, we're going to talk about it and share our opinions here. So in the Dark Side of the Moon, you need to go from the dark side to the light side. All the while, people are going to be ringing alarms and making you a threat. And then you get to the end, and depending on how much of a threat you are, you either get to ride off into the sunset or you just die there. So...
You don't die, you get captured.
Yeah, captured, it's true, yes. Before we dive into the specifics of this, what do we... this one, to me, feels like a journey. This one's a very long scenario that's like... It doesn't stop, and it's not necessarily as, for me, as repetitive as something like Undimensioned and Unseen, but it just feels like a journey.
It really is, especially like the first time you play it, and then you get like halfway through, and then you're like, they're like, you have to go through the other side of the moon now, and you think like, that makes sense, but I wasn't expecting it anyway.
Yeah, it's true. You're like, all right, we've made it into the center of the moon, and oh, we're only halfway through. Let's keep going, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So something that happens here, let me just... you get to the center of the moon, and then you come out from one side, and you go up the other side, to the point where the cards actually kind of just... They mirror each other. So here is the dark side. So as you can see here, I'm about to change it into the light side. And if you can spot the difference with what changes... Not much. And then when you get to the end, there is the captain who is waiting for you. And he only will let you in if you can only even enter the white ship if your alarm level is 4 or lower, which sounds pretty simple, but this whole encounter is made to make it so that over time, your alarm is going to go up to the point where the agenda itself is going to raise your alarm by 1 every 2 turns. Which is crazy when you get to the last part of it.
One of my favorite things about him is that it's a parlay, so like you come onto his ship and he's like, man, those guys they're really chasing you, hey? And it's a nice suit though.
Yeah.
But you don't look like someone who would be being chased, so come on in.
What do we think about the theme of this one? Do we think the theme...
I like this one a lot for theme-wise. This is like a 4.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on like a 4. I think this one's pretty good for...
I'm a little disappointed they didn't like actually mirror the locations for the other side of the moon, for the light side of the moon.
Yeah, like flip
where they
the
just
art.
Like literally flip the art, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
What do you think, Bryn, for theme?
I mean, like, there's no space meat, so that's minus points. Because that's what I want from Space Dreamlands.
It's true. I do think that, I mean, no, I'm going to get to that part. That's not theme. I think the theme works really well because, like, when you get into the center and you have to crawl out the other side, it really does feel like you're moving in and then out. I think it hits that pretty well.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I'd give this one maybe like a 3.5. I don't actually know how the end is played. I've never lived that long.
Travis, what did you give it again?
Like 4.5. 4 is probably fine.
Sure, we'll settle with a 4. I'm also kind of there as well. This is like really like a 3.75 if you put us all together, I think. But so the next question is: do we think this scenario is fun?
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's fun, and then it gets not as fun. And then it's kind of an exciting finish where you have to like really be optimal to get there. But I did feel in our recent playthrough kind of exasperated. I was just like, we still have to do things. I forgot all of the steps that we still have to sign to get this captain to take us out of here. I do think
overall, this is one where like it's actually, like you sort of said, it's really fun like at the start, but like from a bigger perspective where it's really fun the first time you play and you don't know what's going on. And like this, maybe the second and third time you play, it's not so fun. But like after you play it and you sort of accept that, like you're just in it to do it, and there isn't really that much pressure to like actually win it.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of it's a lot more enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of hovering around a 3. I think it's above average in terms of fun, but not like crazy fun.
This one a 3.5. I think this one's quite fun, exploring the thing and like just looking around, and you're like, man, you go to the Temple of the Moon Lizard, and then you get to fight the Moon Lizard.
You do get to fight the Moon Lizard. That is true.
Yeah, or you can just like sneak by him and abandon him in the caverns, and
what do you think?
and then
Brad?
like for the second half, it feels like the first half, it feels like you're actually hiding, and that you're hiding from the guys trying to find you, and then the second half, you're like, you pretty much have to just like, you're running away. You're like,
Yeah.
they know we're here. We gotta get out
It
before
does
they like
hit
catch
that
us.
very well. I do agree with that.
Yeah, no, if Travis thinks this one's fun, then I suppose it probably is. He's the one who has to unpack everything at like the several points throughout the scenario.
It is true.
So
Yeah, I don't even mind that, because
yeah,
like,
like,
even though
yeah.
there's a lot of there's only like 2 real sections where you have to like set things up in the scenario, and it's pretty easy. They're just like shuffle the thing into the deck, put the locations into play.
Yeah,
At no point did they ask you to make an island deck.
No,
it's true.
So that's pretty
Big
good.
fan.
Yeah, I'd probably give this one like a 3.5. I enjoy this more than some scenarios, but it's like not the most fun I've had playing this game.
Sure. Sounds good to me. All right, let's go to difficulty. What do we think of the difficulty of this one?
5.
I think this one, just because you die every time, I think this one's like, so
I've never not been captured.
it's hard to like, again, going back to like the fun, when I mentioned the fun part, it's like difficult to do it perfectly, to like
Yeah.
get everybody out. But at the same time, you only actually need to get one person out to get the good ending, and even if you don't get the good ending, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I think you have like a couple extra clues on like the iron or the dark gates or whatever it's called in the next scenario, and that's the only real change.
I think the only big difficulty of this one, where it becomes hard for players, is the fact that you can't. It seems like you have a lot of time to just like mess around, but you really don't in this one. Like, you got to be as efficient as possible, and I think the more you play this one, the easier it will get. When you kind of know what to expect. I
would
think
give
it's
this one
overall-
probably like a. I mean, again, like it's probably actually a 5 if you're trying to get everyone out and you're trying to like no one gets left behind. But like if you're just trying to make it through with like minimal trauma or whatever, it's probably like a 3.
Yeah, I'd say I think a 3.5. I think reflects that very well, the kind of balance of everything. But I also am kind of leaning to 3. I think we go 3.5 just because Bryn has never made it.
That's fair, especially like with the captain's last thing being like you only have to have, you only have to have 4 or lower to get into the ship, and then it doesn't matter how high your thing goes. It just makes it more difficult. But then it's also a brain and book test, and the person in there who has the lower threat, like assuming the people with lower threat who are going to be able to get onto the boat are not the people killing monsters.
It's true, and at a certain point, you kind of just have to accept, like with Bryn, or like what happened in our last one. If you haven't watched it and you care about spoilers, you should watch that before I spoil this here. But it comes a point where it's like, okay, we have to just die so Travis can get out of here, right? There's going to be a point where you just kind of have to accept that you're not making it off the ship, but you're going to get the
And
good
even then,
result.
like it's not like you're dying so that way I can get out. You're dying so that way the team can succeed. Because only one person needs to make it.
Exactly. So I think overall, looking at our scores, I'd say like a 3.5 is pretty good for this one.
Yep.
I just think it's just a nice, really strong, but not like amazing scenario. I think it's just very, very well made.
Yeah, if I made like a top 5 list of scenarios, this probably wouldn't be on it. But like,
But it
I would
probably
never
could crack
moan about
top
having
10.
to play this one. I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's do it. We're having a good time.
Definitely.
Yeah, this one's better than most of the scenarios in the Circle Undone.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
So
That's one thing, going through these reviews, I'm like, I actually enjoy this cycle quite a bit in comparison to the last 2, so that's great. Do we have any other thoughts or comments? There is Virgil coming around with you on this one every time your alarm is raised, which is nice for us. We kind of just pass him around the group.
He's pretty inconsequential. I think he's really just there for story reasons.
This dude's, I'm going to get the Moon Beast up here.
Moon Lizard?
No,
or
the
Moon
Moon
Beast?
Beast, who raises
Oh yeah, this
alarm.
guy's a tank. Oh my god.
This guy's a tank, and like they make it so that you can just evade him and leave him somewhere, but he's already raised your alarm, so you might as well commit the time to kill him, right?
Oh yeah, he's already seen you.
Yeah. Another very relevant enemy is the cats from Saturn who have Swarming X, which when you're playing with our group, that's usually like 5.
Yeah, this guy's actually a piece. These cats are actually a piece of shit.
Yeah, they're
actually. I think they're genuinely more dangerous than the Moon Beast is.
I agree, because they don't even have victory, and you put probably a lot more effort into killing them.
Yeah, and the encounter deck for this one isn't actually that big.
No, I'd say honestly, like I think this one's really good because here's another enemy, the Moonbound Byaki. They hit like I think the enemies are really tough in this one, and they're scarier than the treachery cards that are in it. Like this guy hits like a frickin' tank, and he has alert, right? It's
yeah,
great.
but he does reward you for having low alarm.
Yes.
So like while he does hit for 3 hearts at Bram, which sucks, he's
probably
probably chases down your monster hunter, the person who's designed to fight him, and can take heart damage. He's not actually that hard to kill.
I think it's a lot of this for this scenario just really works, and I think it's just very successful with that.
It's a common theme with the enemies in this one where they're like, because you could just in theory blitz through the scenario, but they make you want to kill the monsters instead of just ignoring them and like going through the clue stuff. So they're trying to really just emphasize that trying to bog you down with the monsters where they're gonna hit you hard if you don't deal with them.
Yeah. Cool. Everyone watching, what do you guys think of Dark Side of the Moon? What do we recommend? Do you think this scenario is good enough for someone who plays standalone? Do you think that?
Yeah.
I do think though, playing through this, that this for me anyway, this whole cycle kind of works better from a story perspective. But I do think it's still a 3.5. That's a good rating.
I think this is like a fun scenario for someone who's familiar with this story and with the Dreamlands. Like if you had someone who is like, oh, I've been reading Lovecraft stories and I'm kind of interested in playing like this Arkham game that you play. Yeah. This is like a cool one for them because a lot of these things are pulled directly from the Search for Kadath story. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, yeah, I recognize this, I recognize that.
Yeah.
But if this is someone's first foray into Arkham, like, would not recommend probably.
I agree. Thanks for watching, everybody. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week for the next review video. Have a good one, and as always, GG's.